Hello everyone, FPS Chaz here, and welcome back to my tutorial series. Today I'm playing as a Seawolf, and I'm just going to do a quick little video to go over the differences between the LA and the Seawolf. It's not too much. So let's start off here with the ship control. It looks completely different, but everything's the same. You got your ventilate. You can rig in bow planes. It doesn't really do anything from what I can tell. It's something that's supposed to be done at high speeds, though. You don't want the bow planes out at high speeds. You just want to use the stern planes. But I think they come in automatically if you go to high speeds. Yeah, so you got all your same stuff, except in the Seawolf, I believe, I'm not sure which one is which, I will say in the annotations, but I believe the port towed array is less sensitive and can be used at higher speeds, and the starboard towed array is more sensitive and cannot be used at higher speeds. So that's one advantage of the Seawolf there, besides the fact that it's utterly silent. It's basically undetectable almost. Yeah, this is the speed stack or whatever here. It looks a little different, but yeah, that's about that. That's all there is to that. So come over to the sonar. The interface here is a little different. You have to actually like go into all these sub menus to get to certain stuff here instead of just like clicking buttons like on the LA. But yeah, the same basic principle is the same. And coming to narrowband, you know, you go over a contact here, get to the display signature, you actually have to like go into here too, which is slightly annoying. Not a big fan of that, but it's really not too big a deal. It's got all these like fancy sounding stuff, everything's all digital. Yeah, this one, yeah, I mean, pretty much for all these stations you have to go into all these little subcategories here, so it's pretty much the gist of that. Not too much, nothing else is different functionally. Now, this is the piece de resistance right here. This is the part that really makes the Seawolf very incredibly good, is this right here, the wide aperture array range. Now, yeah, that's what WAA stands for, and then the RNG just means range. What this is, let me show you. We'll go out to the Seawolf here. If you look down here, that these three panels here are the wide aperture array. Now, as you can see, they are in different positions, so what these three things do is they'll each pick up the contact here, and then what they'll do is they'll do a triangulation, and they'll figure out what the range is to your contact, so you instantaneously know your range in a passive method. That is, you don't have to let out a ping, no one knows you're using this, but you can instantly find out the range of a track. So who's this guy right here? So we got this guy right here, we got the wide aperture array range. What we can do is wrap lock. This is rapid localization. It sends the distance you have here to the TMA. So let's see if that went ahead and worked there. I'm not sure if it actually did or not. It's not too big a deal if it doesn't. It's really not that hard to punch in a range, but let's go ahead and see who that guy really is on the truth and see. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That is his range exactly on the money right there. So it looks like it wrap locked right to here maybe. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's a fancy feature right there. So you'll be able to I think you'll be able to see the rapid localization here on the nav map. I thought I was supposed to send it to the TMA. Oh, there you go, right there. You see that? Yeah, right there. There's your rapid localization right there. It's the same as that's the same look as maybe a radar or a statometer thing there. But yeah, that's what makes the Seawolf so incredible, is this wide aperture array range right here. So yeah, Seawolf is basically the best sub in this game. Now, since, you know, these things there's only so much distance between them, they're only accurate to about a certain range, so I think the manual advises you shouldn't really trust any ranges beyond, I think, about 15,000 yards. So as you can see here, this is probably like a little weary, but it's probably a good place to start. But I just wouldn't rely on that. I would it might be a good place to start on, but I wouldn't count on that as being your real range right there. So you're probably gonna want to like verify that with TMA. But yeah, wide aperture array ranging, that is incredible stuff, and I didn't find out about this until I started making these videos, really, so that's what sets the Seawolf here above and beyond its competition. Move on to radar, basically the same thing. Radio ESM, yeah, basically the same thing here too. Let's see here. Fire control is a good chunk different setup here. The Seawolf, if I can show it here, has 8 tubes actually, 4 tubes on each side, no vertical launch tubes. So if you want to do some kind of like Tomahawk strike mission, you're going to have to, I'd probably leave at least one of these tubes at a Mark 48 and load the rest of Tomahawk. So this thing can't as readily get off a crap ton of Tomahawks like the LA can. But yeah, it's not too big a deal. And this whole menu is different too. It looks a lot more complicated, but all you got to do is flood and muzzle door like on the vertical tubes on the 688. You don't have to do the equalize button anymore for what it's worth. And you don't have to click any of this stuff. These are all just these are things that are dependent on these being done. You don't have to actually click any of these things, and then you just go ahead and launch that way. So this is a little more confusing. You change the weapons down here, and to get to the other weapon interfaces, you click these buttons here. So there's that. Also, the Seawolf has a crap ton of like external countermeasure tubes as well as the additional internals. So before you have to start like reloading, you can just launch out all these countermeasures like crazy. So that's another advantage of the Seawolf. And then you got your stores here as well. Let's see, moving on here. Yeah, on to TMA. It's the same interface still. Nothing's really different. You just got to go through these sub menus and stuff. It's a little cleaner looking. Periscope is just about the same. It's probably just a little different interface here. I couldn't tell you the last time I used a Seawolf's Periscope. I don't play as a Seawolf too much, just because there aren't that many missions that have Seawolves. But yeah, it's the same thing. It might be a little easier to navigate here. Who knows? Who knows? Okay. Sail bridge is the same. Shoot your SAM missile. Shoot your binocs. And yeah, that's about it for the Seawolf. That's all the differences mainly. So overall, you could say it's a better sub than the 688, but it depends on the mission. The 688 can get out a lot more tomahawks. It can get out tomahawks more quickly than the Seawolf if that's something you need to be doing. But other than that, yeah, the LA is the Seawolf is pretty much superior in every respect, as it should be, because it's a newer sub. Alright, so yeah, that's the differences between 688 and the Seawolf. I think this is going to be all one video. I'm going to move on to the Akula and the Kilo next, so see you in a sec. Alrighty, now we're going to be going through the Russian subs. Akula and Kilo, the Chinese have a Kilo too, but the interface is all the same in that as well. They just have different weapons. So yeah, I'm just going to go through the different interfaces here. I might as well highlight the weapons while I'm here too. I didn't highlight the weapons in the Seawolf because it has all the same weapons as the 688. So there you go. Alright, so all the interfaces on this are going to look completely different just because it is from a different country. So this is a lot more, I guess, like I'd say more old school looking than the LA even, but not too much. Pretty much like the same general layout if I recall from the LA, just, you know, different stuff.
Course 0,
yeah.
7,
I turned east because there's some ice around. I want to make sure I'm not running into an ice shelf here while I'm going over this. So yeah, you just got these like rollers instead of like length, or instead of like the what is it? On the LA and the Seawolf, it shows like how much length is out in like a bar, but here it just shows as a number. I think the max is like 300 or something. So if you only want to go halfway, you can go to like 150 or something like that. But yeah, everything else is the same. I kind of like this being as a gauge better than a percentage. It's easier to just like quickly look at. But yeah, get beneath 50%, you won't be able to launch any weapons. Alright, now this is the major downfall of the Akula here. It's the sonar. Oh, I need to make sure someone's not going to crash into me. Hang on. Alright, we're good. Yeah, this is the major pitfall of the Akula and the Kilo here, is this broadband display here. So we don't have a waterfall. We have a signal azimuth thingy here. It's kind of like the narrowband on the 688 and Seawolf, except they use this for the broadband as well. So the major downside that you can see right away, no time history. So it's going to be pretty hard to like tell what a contact is actually doing with the Akula here. So yeah, that's the major pitfall, is that this is only, there's no waterfall. You have to do it like a narrowband here. And then the narrowband is even further away from how the narrowband is on the 688s too. So you got the same azimuth circular kind of thing. I like the circular idea, but there's like no waterfall to it, so kind of sucks. Yeah, the narrowband here is a lot harder to, it's just not as good as the 688 because you don't get the frequency breakdown and everything like that. You kind of just have to guess. So you can't get as fine of a resolution. Well, actually you can zoom in, so you can see other contacts here. You can zoom in and see that. The problem is with the colors on this, it's not very good contrast, so it's really hard to see what's going on sometimes. Yeah, TPK screen, just about the same. Everything else besides that is going to be about the same. But yeah, this is the major difference here, is this crap. So what you're gonna, it's kind of just like the pitfall of playing as an Akula. You won't be able to really tell what's going on in terms of waterfall, at least. You won't be able to see the trends. Radar screen here is the same pretty much. Radio ESM, yeah, it's the same thing. Alright, so weapons. This is where the Akula is really different. It's suite of weapons here. So we've got a lot of different weapons here. 65 centimeter, this is basically your Mark 48 equivalent here. It goes 5 knots slower though. So that's one thing. The thing that really evens out the Akula 688 differences, though, are the Stallion and the SSN-27 ASW. These are weapons that are basically missiles that have torpedoes on the end of them. So very quickly you can launch one of these bad boys. Let me just show up on the nav map. And within, a matter of seconds compared to a torpedo, you could get a torpedo over here with one of these rockets. So if you can find someone and get a solution on them, you can launch those torpedo rockets, as I like to call them, and really, have the opportunity to kill someone pretty quickly. 53 centimeter, it's kind of dinky. Think of like a Mark 48, Mark 46. Probably not going to really be using that too much. 53 65K. This is a pretty good torpedo. This is wake-homing, so basically it just looks for the wake of a ship. So if you're trying to go for a surface ship, you just launch this into the wake, and assuming it goes the right way, once it hits the wake, it will never. There's no countermeasures for this, so it'll pretty much always hit that ship as long as it doesn't run out of fuel. So if you are going to launch it, make sure you're launching it in such a way so that it hits the wake. Say we're going after this ship right here. What you want to do is you want to try and make it so the torpedo will hit the wake at an angle like this. So it's pretty much already inclined to go that direction of the wake. So if you have the torpedo coming at the wake like this angle here, it's probably going to go that way and just not ever hit the ship. So you want to try and make it so the torpedo is angled this way to go up the wake and then sink that ship there. So yeah, that's what I mean by wake-homing. So that can be pretty useful too. The Skull is an interesting weapon. This is an underwater missile, basically. It has a little funky tip on the front of it that creates a bubble of supercavitation. So this thing is basically flying in a bubble underwater, and it can go 200 knots. It's insane. It's got a range of 6 nautical miles. Can't maneuver much, but it's magnetically influenced. So as soon as it gets close to a ship, it'll blow up. So as long as you're close to a ship, you'll actually always get some damage on it. But this is basically, you can think of this as like a World War II torpedo, except it probably goes 10 times faster. But yeah, Akulas have definitely sunk me with squalls before when I wasn't paying attention. It's kind of annoying. SSN-27, this is basically the equivalent of a Tomahawk, except the anti-shipping missile variant. There's a club version, and as soon as it starts locking onto a ship, it goes supersonic. It increases its speed by about 3 times, and it's really hard to hit at that point. UUV, as always, mine, active passive countermeasures, and you got this SAN-8 Gremlin. It's the same thing as the 688, basically. It might have a different range. In fact, I'm going to check that out. Hang on. It does indeed have a different range. The American SAM has almost twice the range of the Gremlin SAM, which is very interesting. So yeah, I think it said the Stinger can go about 4.5 nautical miles, and the Gremlin can only go 2.7 nautical miles. So it's definitely something you want to keep in mind. Now, if we come over to the tubes here, the Akula's got a similar setup. It's got 8 internal tubes like the Seawolf does, but the other thing it has is these external tubes. So this is more like your Los Angeles kind of thing. So basically a crap ton of tubes. So if you're doing a land attack mission, just stuff all these outer tubes with land attack missiles and you're good to go. Alright, let's move on to the TMA. TMA differences, it's just aesthetic differences. Aren't any differences in how this functions or anything like that. And then once again, since the sonar's like this, it's going to be pretty hard to do tracks on that. So you'll just have to. It's just what comes with playing as an Akula. It's just something you'll have to get used to, I suppose. And the sail bridge is all the same as well, except for the fact that this thing has a much shorter range than the Stinger does. But yeah, that's the Akula differences. So let's move on to the Kilo. And here we are on a Russian Kilo. Now let's highlight the Kilo differences here. The big difference, though, no towed array. There's no towed array on the Kilo. So people will always say, well, that kind of sucks to play as a Kilo. But the caveat to that is that the Kilo is even quieter than the Seawolf at low speed. I might show this with an example here. But yeah, you get down to 3 knots or slower, and no one is going to be able to find you unless they start pinging or something. The other difference we got here are diesels and battery power, because this is not a nuclear boat. So right here you got your battery charge, we're at basically 100% right now, and then your rate. So we're drawing a little bit of current, but if you go to flank here, you draw a lot of current. So you're going to be losing your engines pretty quickly there. So if you get too low on battery, you're actually going to have to come to the surface. You don't actually have to surface, you could stay submerged and snorkel, but you're going to have to start these diesels. And I haven't done an experiment to see how loud the diesels are, but rest assured, they're going to be loud. They're going to be much louder than a Kilo normally is. So yeah, you got that whole dynamic going. It's also not very fast. Max speed is 20 knots underwater. So stealth is going to be your best friend with this doodad right here. So yeah, broadband is going to be generally the same thing going on here. It's just a lot clunkier looking of an interface, a lot older looking. Narrowband's the same principle here. You got TPK, active transmit, active intercept. It's all the same thing pretty much. Moving on to radar, it's the same layout as well. Radio ESM, yeah, we know all that stuff. And then you got the target display here, which looks a lot different from the rest of the stuff. But then you got the kilo weapons here, which are not the best. They're not the best. The best torpedo you probably have is the USET-80, at least on the Russian subs here. Test-71 has always been hit or miss for me. Sometimes it goes active and looks like it should lock onto a ship and just doesn't. SSN-15, I'm not too sure what that is. Let's find out. Okay, so the SSN-15 is just another one of those anti-submarine missiles like the SSN-27 ASW or the Stallion. So what kind of torpedo does it launch here? Let's see. The torpedo it drops has a range of 4.3 nautical miles and a warhead of 100 kilograms. Oh, so otherwise it's pretty dinky weapon, but okay, it's a UMGT-1 torpedo. So I mean, the Russian Kilo, it does have this missile here too, so that does make it formidable. You got mines, UUVs, active, passive, and then your surface-to-air missiles here. Now there are the Chinese and the Russians in this game. There's one sub of each that I believe is club capable. Actually, I don't even know if there is a Russian club capable sub. And what I mean by that is SSN-27 Club. Let's see if I can bring it up in the reference here. This thing is a very good missile. So yeah, I think actually, all of them. Don't quote me on this, but it looks like all these SSN-27 ASMs are pretty much yeah, they're all the supersonic variant. They all go up to Mach 3. Yeah, you can see that speed right there as soon as it gets its target. So pretty lethal. So if you got a Kilo that has a club variant, and he gets a whiff of a surface ship, well, good luck. He's definitely going to be kicking some ass with that. Yep, it looks pretty much like a Tomahawk. I don't know if it looks that similar in real life. I think they just did that in the game. But yeah, let's move on to the other differences. Probably aren't going to be too much. TMA is the same, yeah. And then you got your sail bridge as well, same thing. Shoot the SAN-8 Gremlin. So yeah, that's the major differences between all the different types of subs. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you guys next time. I'm FPS Chasley. Bye-bye.